The Andersons were the kind of family neighbors pointed to with admiration. Michael, a successful architect in his early 40s, had a reputation for being dependable, charming, and endlessly patient. His wife, Emily, taught literature at the local high school, where her students adored her for the way she made poetry sound like a secret whispered only to them. Together, they lived in a white two-story house in a quiet suburb of North Carolina, with 2 children, Lily, 10, and Ben, 7. Their home was filled with the soft noise of life. Piano practice, laughter, the sizzling of bacon on Sunday mornings, and a hum of bedtime stories read aloud in dim light. Friends would come over for barbecues, and there was always music. Bruce Springsteen, Fleetwood Mac, sometimes classical, when Emily wanted a house to feel like a European cafe. For more than a decade, Michael and Emily had built a life that seemed unshakable. Vacations at the beach, family road trips to the mountains, Friday night movie traditions with popcorn and blankets, all of it painted a picture of domestic bliss. But beneath the glossy photograph of happiness, small cracks had begun to form. At first, they were invisible. Michael started coming home later, blaming project deadlines. Emily, exhausted after long days at school, sometimes went to bed before he arrived. Their conversations, once full of inside jokes and shared dreams, became logistical checklists: groceries, bills, soccer practice schedules. Emily noticed, but told herself it was normal. All marriages change, she thought. We're just busy. We're still us. Michael, too, felt the distance, but he pushed it down. He convinced himself that providing for his family was proof enough of his love. Still, an ache grew inside him, a longing to be seen not as a provider, not as a father, but as a man. It was on a rainy Thursday evening that he met Claire. She was a new project manager at his firm, sharp, ambitious, with a laugh that cut through the sterile office air. At first, their connection was professional, efficient. But Michael couldn't help noticing the way she looked at him when he spoke. Unlike Emily, who had grown accustomed to his stories, Claire listened with wide-eyed attention, as though every word mattered. One late night at the office, when most of the staff had already left, Michael and Claire lingered over a blueprint. Their shoulders brushed, the silence stretched, charged with something neither of them named. And then, in a moment that felt both inevitable and reckless, Michael kissed her. The guilt hit him immediately, sharp and suffocating. He went home that night, found Emily asleep with a book still in her hands, and stood in the doorway longer than usual. He wanted to confess, but the words froze in his throat. Instead, he kissed her forehead and whispered, "I love you," hoping the lie could erase the truth. But the affair didn't stop. It unfolded in secret lunches, stolen weekends under guise of work trips, and a flood of messages that made Michael's heart race. With Claire, he felt alive again, like the younger version of himself, unburdened by mortgages and bedtime routines. Meanwhile, Emily sensed something slipping. She saw the way Michael's eyes lit up when his phone buzzed, the way he guarded it with sudden caution. She noticed the cologne he wore to the office, the new shirts he hadn't asked her opinion on. She told herself not to jump to conclusions, but doubt gnawed at her. The turning point came one evening when Michael returned from a supposed trip to Atlanta. He was tired, distant, and quick to shower. Later that night, Emily picked up his jacket to hang in the closet and found a hotel receipt tucked in the pocket. The room had been for 2. Her hands shook as she held the slip of paper, the truth bleeding through her denial. She waited until morning to confront him, her voice trembling but firm. "Michael, who is she?" He froze. In that instant, every carefully constructed wall of secrecy collapsed. The silence that followed was louder than any scream. For hours, they sat at the kitchen table, the same table where they had celebrated birthdays and carved pumpkins with the kids. Michael confessed in halting words, tears sliding down his face. Emily listened, her expression breaking from anger to disbelief to an ocean of sorrow. Their children slept upstairs, unaware of the earthquake shaking the foundation of their world. The days that followed were heavy with tension. Emily alternated between fury and grief, between wanting to throw him out and wanting to rewind time. Michael, racked with shame, begged for forgiveness. He promised therapy, change, anything, but something irreversible had shifted. The trust that once held them together was fractured, and no matter how tightly they try to hold on, the pieces cut deeper into their hands. Lily and Ben eventually sensed a change, the silence at the dinner table, the absence of laughter. Emily tried to shield them, but children are sharper than adults believe. Months later, the Andersons' house looked the same from the outside. White paint trimmed lawn, a swing set in the yard. But inside, the warmth had dimmed. They tried counseling, long conversations, even weekends away, but the memory of betrayal hovered like a shadow. Emily once told a friend, "It's not just about the affair. It's about the choice he made, the choice not to choose us." And Michael, though he regretted everything, couldn't deny that part of him still thought of Claire, of the brief escape she represented. In the end, their story wasn't about villains and saints. It was about two people who once loved each other fiercely, who built a beautiful life together, but who stumbled into the messy complexity of desire, loneliness, and regret. A perfect family on the outside, a broken truth on the inside. And so the Andersons lived on together, but changed forever, their happiness now a memory that hurt as much as it healed.